This meeting is called to order at 7 p.m. Good evening. This is a regular meeting of the Ferndale Schools Board of Education being held on Monday, October 21st, 2024. Our meeting is being video recorded and will be posted on the Ferndale Schools YouTube channel. All meetings in the Ferndale Schools are held in public in compliance with the Open Meetings Act. Printed documents discussed in tonight's meeting are available to the public upon request, with the exception of any information protected by student or employee privacy rights. Board meeting information is posted on our website at www.ferndaleschools.org. If you do not have internet access and need information, please contact the board offices at 248-586-8652 by Thursday of the week prior to the meeting, and the district staff will do their best to work with you. Item 1.1, roll call, Ms. Shepherd.
Seglarek.
Here.
Eltart.
Here.
Fulmer.
Here.
Latash.
Here.
Turner.
Here.
President Dookie.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 1.2, approval of the agenda. After review of the agenda, are there any items that anyone wants to update? No. Then without objection and with unanimous consent, the agenda is approved. Item 2, presentation of building, University High School, Principal Patterson.
I'm sorry, President Dookie. I see it. Forget it. I couldn't see public comment.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
I'm very excited to talk to you about UHS and the initiatives that we have for this year, centered around the pillars of Ferndale excellence. Our pillars of excellence: self-reflection, transparency, attendance, collaboration, and data as a flashlight. Self-reflection. At University High School, we really work to have a culture of self-reflection. We're regularly asking ourselves, what can we do to make UHS better? Our teachers are saying, what can we do to make our classes better? And on a daily basis, what can we do to make our lessons better? And to that end, we this year came up with some new school-wide programs and initiatives in that goal of self-improvement. One of our big focuses is on regular classroom circles, restorative practices, and a way to focus on student talk and increase student sense of belonging. We initiated Eagle Activity Days, which I'll talk about a little bit later in terms of more about what those are. Our student success team meetings for MTSS identification and structured supports. And again, that's another area that I'm going to talk about a little bit later in the presentation, along with relationship mapping through our partnership that we have with Harvard University. We're also working to expand our use of design thinking and integration into classrooms, and some of our UHS students are here today to talk a little bit about that. We added in bi-monthly classroom level surveys for self-reflection. This will be just our teachers will see that information, so it won't be coming to administration. It'll be a way for our teachers to get feedback from their students and self-reflect on that feedback. We also initiated a senior mentoring program this year, and this is where each staff member was assigned 4 or 5 seniors, with the goal of just making sure that every single senior has a plan when they leave University High School. We were fortunate to add a partnership with Oakland 80 this year, so in addition to our MCAM partnership, we have someone in our building full-time from Oakland 80, and he is really focused on those students for whom a college degree might not be the right path, but who want some post-secondary training, maybe in apprenticeships or trades or certificate programs. So he's focusing on that branch, and then we have our MCAM partner focusing on the other branch, with our goal of having every student have a real solid plan for post-secondary training when they leave University High School. And another one, it's small, but this is a mountain if you work in schools, and that is uniform cell phone enforcement commitment. It's always been a rule, but until you have a uniform buy-in from your whole staff, it makes it hard to enforce. And it was an instantly noticeable difference in terms of the connection among students, the camaraderie, the engagement levels in our classrooms. Second one is transparency. Some of the ways that we are transparent, we have weekly short family updates in addition to our monthly newsletter. This is really a quick read, nuts and bolts, most important things. As a parent myself, I know sometimes you can get lost in all of the links and all of the information that you get week after week, so these are just quick hit updates. We also tried something new this year that we were very excited about and was very successful. We swapped conferences so that we have one morning session. So at drop-off, parents can come in and meet with their students' teachers then. And our students are going to be talking a little bit about that because that was their challenge, was students are in the building at that time, so what can we do, what can the students be doing while their teachers are meeting with parents? We have regular social media updates, weekly video announcements on TikTok, and those are shared on social media as well. And then just in general, we really believe in a shared leadership approach, and that builds trust among staff. In terms of attendance, this is a major issue for University High School that we are working really hard to improve. And we're trying a multifaceted approach. So first thing is a focus on increased sense of belonging. Again, the regular circles that we talked about earlier lead to that increased sense of belonging, in addition to the Eagle Activity Days. And what Eagle Activity Days are, we realize that at University High School, a lot of our students commute. They don't live in the area. So particularly for our students who ride the bus, when they leave on that bus, they aren't coming back. So they might not have that engagement from extracurricular activities that some of the students who can stay after would have. So we instituted Eagle Activity Days this year. We had our first one a couple of weeks ago and our next one at the end of the month. Eagle Activity Days are a way during the school day for students to find like-minded peers and do a student-led activity, organization, club, things like that. And again, that's really just to foster that sense of belonging so that people are connected to others, hopefully leading to improved attendance. Relationship mapping is something Harvard University is running a program, so we enrolled in that program, and that is where we look at our entire list of students and ensure that every student has an adult that they have a connection with. So it started with a student survey, and then at our next PLC, that is when we do the actual mapping. If there are students that don't have, that a staff member is like, oh, wait, we look through here, this student doesn't have any staff member that they feel really connected to, we make an effort to assign those students out so that everybody is connected to an adult at UHS. In addition to the sense of belonging, we're working on different incentive programs. We have extra graduation tickets for our seniors who meet a certain attendance level. We do attendance breakfasts, we've been having attendance raffles, just various programs like that. We've really formalized this year our MTSS process, particularly as it relates to attendance and some other things. But so as part of this MTSS process, our Tier 2 and Tier 3 students are identified, and then they're paired with appropriate support staff. Some of that, we have a new person this year from Communities and Schools that we're very excited about. So she is full-time in our building now for the first time. And so she works with some of our Tier 2 and Tier 3 students, as well as our academic coach is sometimes assigned, depending, and one of our senior advisors is sometimes assigned, just depending on kind of the situation. We're also being more systematic about our letters and phone calls home for students who are struggling with attendance. And then, again, we're just really working to address root causes, meet basic needs. A lot of times we find that it's transportation. So we now have bus passes available that students can get if they need to take both the Smart Bus and the DDOT bus. We have passes for both through Communities and Schools. So just looking things like that, we've ordered a bunch of alarm clocks. If parents are telling us, like, waking up, I have to leave for work, and they're not awake and I have to leave. So we've ordered some alarm clocks that can be given out to students, just things like that, to try to improve attendance. So we're excited to see the results. We really hope we can make some progress this year. Collaboration, really, for UHS, this is the heart of what we do. Shared leadership is everything for us. We really have staff that step up and lead initiatives. Things like Best U Week that we just had last week, First 4 Days, Target Time, all of those things we couldn't do without a staff that is willing to step up, lead, just really dive in and look for ways to make UHS better. C2 Pipeline did lose its grant funding this year at UHS, so we really had to step up to find new after-school activities and options for that, and our staff members stepped up to fill that gap, so we're excited about that. Staff leads PD. We have some flex PLCs that are built in throughout the year for staff to share their expertise as well. We have grade level PLCs, so as part of our new formalized MTSS process, our grade level PLCs kind of inform who we need to look at for our MTSS process for our Tier 2 students. We have shared data analysis and problem solving sessions, and we do staff circles as well as doing circles in our classroom. Finally, this year we're really working hard to increase the capacity of our student leaders so that they can collaborate with us, and we have some of those student leaders here with us today, but they're really involved with new student initiatives. We brought back our leadership class this year, and it is specifically designed for our student council students, and so we're seeing some really exciting things come out of there. Just 2 weeks ago, our student leaders created student surveys that went to the student leaders, and then they shared that data with us for implementation. And then we've also instituted a regular student leadership admin meetings each month so that we can collaborate and be on the same page and get new ideas. And then finally, data as a flashlight. We use data in various ways at UHS. We do whole staff analysis of our panorama data, and then we identify smaller work groups for areas that we really need to focus on. We have our student success team meetings, and this has really been formalized for this year. So we meet every other week with our student success team to identify our Tier 2 and our Tier 3 students. This can be for grades, this can be transcripts, students who are in need of credit recovery. This is attendance data, behavioral data, as well as benchmark assessment data. So we're looking at all these different forms of data, and then we're creating structured supports for those students. And we have our entire support team, and just based on our support team's expertise, we're identifying which students are kind of assigned to which champion to walk them through those MTSS supports. Also, as I mentioned earlier, the bi-monthly classroom level survey data, and then we're working to increase our capacity around iReady data now that we have switched to iReady. I mentioned a couple of times, we're super excited about what our student council is doing through the leadership class, and I would like to welcome them up to talk to you now.
Hi. Lined up here. I am Sarah Rogers. I'm a teacher at University High School and also student council advisor. I went to the 2-week design thinking PD this summer. Found it a really amazing PD to go to. We have some other teachers who are implementing it in their classrooms. In social justice, it's being used. But for me, this year with the new leadership elective, I thought this was a really great opportunity. So this first challenge just kind of landed in our laps this year, and I handed it over to the kids, and they got their first practice with the process, so they'll talk about the process and their experience.
Hi, I'm Skylar Jackson. I'm UHS President of Student Council, and I'll be introducing the rest of our leadership team today and also talking a little bit about the design thinking process.
I'm Tiara, and I'm a junior. I'm Kim, I'm also a junior. I'm David, I'm a senior. I'm Grace, I'm a junior. I'm Caitlin, and I'm on the track team. I'm Joy, I'm on the swim team.
Can you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. As a part of our leadership class, we learned about the design thinking process and got to do our first practice challenge. Design thinking is a way of problem solving that focuses on understanding the needs of people and creating out-of-the-box solutions. It has 5 steps: empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. The first challenge that we were given to practice using design thinking was to create a program for students during the Fall Parent-Teacher Conference. We were told that conferences would be in the morning during the day when students were in the building, but teachers would not be available. The challenge was to come up with a plan for them. The first step of the process was to empathize with the people who we are creating the program for. We interviewed our principals, we asked them questions that would help us understand their needs, such as what are some needs that the students have at the start of their day, what concerns that you have about having conferences during the school day, what areas of the building will be available during conferences. The next step of our process was to review the responses from the interviews and come up with our takeaways and themes. A few of the themes that we discovered were that our principals wanted our plan to be organized. They wanted students to be able to choose which activities they wanted to go to, that we should plan a variety of activities for different types of students, and that we had to make sure that it could run smoothly with just a few staff members supporting it. Supervising.
After we identified these items, we had to come up with our how might we questions. Every group had different versions, but this is one example. How might we create a program for students during fall parent-teacher conferences that will be organized, enjoyable for students, and appropriately supervised with limited staff?
Our next step was to brainstorm as a group to answer our how might we questions and then capture our final concept. Some of the things we took for our brainstorming was to not judge other people's ideas, encourage each other to think outside the box, build off each other's thinking, and keep going back to our how might we questions.
We used the yes and protocol for brainstorming. We all had sticky notes and we took turns adding on to each other's ideas. After we finished, we clustered our ideas by similarities and then we voted on our 3 favorites. We used the top ideas to capture our final concept. We selected a title for our concept, came up with 1 sentence to summarize it, and 1 sentence for how it will work, and what we wanted the impact of our concept to be.
Once we had our final concept, we started prototyping. We worked as a group to create a 3D model for our idea. We had to get creative with pipe cleaners, foam board, and a lot of random craft supplies. Here are some pictures of us during our prototyping workshop. After building our prototypes, we presented them to our principals and got feedback from them. Here are some pics from our presentations. In the end, they decided to use a combination of our concepts during fall parent-teacher conferences, and that gave us approval to use some of our ideas later on in the year. We are already planning on a wellness day for the 2nd semester. Student leadership will be using the design thinking process throughout the school year to plan UHS improvement projects, plan student events, and address challenges. Some areas of focus will be attendance, student belonging, and family engagement. We will also be partnered with a local business in the spring. The business will give us a challenge and we'll use the design thinking process to create a solution for them. We'll be taking a field trip to conduct our interviews in person and then presenting during a showcase at Oakland Schools in May. Do you have any questions?
Awesome job.
Thank you, everybody. We appreciate your time. Any questions?
I just really want to solicit participation on our wellness committee. If anyone's interested, please join our committee and I'll reach out. I'm so excited. That's a great idea.
Anybody have any questions for me before?
Can I just ask one? Did you guys have fun with the process?
Yeah. It was very, like, it's something that, like, most schools don't do, so it was good to, like, see everybody's ideas and how everybody wasn't, like, shutting everybody down. We got to talk through the ideas and just, like, well, that's not smart. Like, why would we do that? We got to, like, think about it, watch it.
Great. Thank you so much. That looks like a great process, and thanks for coming here.
And was this implemented building-wide?
Yes. You mean for that day?
For that day?
Yes, it was.
design, just so you all know, design thinking is all over the workplace.
Yes.
Like, I would like to capture you all and bring you to my job, so you could do this presentation, but, I mean, kudos to your leadership for introducing you to the concept, because you're learning about something that, if you can talk about that in a job interview, you're gonna capture people's attention right away. So, hang with this process, and whenever you get a chance to use it, please use it, and then think about all the stuff that you're learning, and mention it to other adults in your life, because they're gonna wanna hear what you have to say about it.
But thank you for solving real world problems. Like, those are real. You have no idea how many times Principal Patterson and I have talked about a number of these things. So it's just exciting to see what we can do when we just give it to students. I'm just proud. Great job. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Up next, item 3, presentation of bond program update. Deputy Superintendent Ms. Wright.
You just have that?
Right. Should have went before them.
Have a good evening.
Good night.
I don't speak as loudly as the children. So I decided to get up here because it's just awkward for me to sit so close to the screen. But good evening, everyone. My name is Felicia Wright. I'm Deputy Superintendent for Ferndale Public Schools. And tonight I'm going to do a recap of our bond program from 21 up until 23, and then what we have planned for next summer. And actually, I wish UHS had stayed. The young ladies would hear all the wonderful work. So you'll have to take notes.
There's a UHS rep.
Okay. All right. So this is just a reminder of our series. So our bond passed in 2020. We call it the Bond 2020. Series 1 is about 53.7 million. Series 2 is 35.4, and Series 3 we're anticipating. Thank you. What we're anticipating is another 35.7 million. Was it the chairs? Chairs. They're shifting on their own. I knew it. Okay.
I didn't know what that meant.
Okay. We can advance, Superintendent Hibler. So completed bid packet, which is what we entitle all of our bid projects as a bid packet. The number one was bid packet. Bond budget was for a little over $7 million. We actually spent a little less than that, 6.5. And that project entailed, the next slide, I'm sorry. That project entailed renovations at Ferndale Upper Elementary School, as well as at Ferndale Early Childhood Center. New lavatories, new front office, new vestibule. The same thing at Ferndale Early Childhood Center. We installed a new playground, or I like to say adventure center for those kiddos, and a new secure front office. Bid packet number 2, budget was 2.6. We went a little bit over at 4.2 million. And that project entailed Ferndale High School with the we filled in the women's pool, I believe, and we renovated the pool, formerly the men's pool area. And we also, on top of that pool that was filled in the women's, we built in a new weight room at the high school. Bid pack 3, budget 3.3 million, actual spend 3.1, a little less. That project entailed renovations at Tri-County Educational Center, included a parking lot, roof repairs, ventilation, mechanical and heating and cooling, classroom renovations, and furniture. Completed bid pack 4, budget. Bond budget was 26.2 million. We expended 32.2 million, and that project is the new Ferndale Lower Elementary School. Big budget, big project, and we're so proud of that building. If you haven't gone, please take a visit over there. Principal Keith would be glad to have you. Completed bid package number 5, budget $379,000. We expensed $598,000, and that project entailed new boilers. And we can advance. That project entailed new boilers. What wasn't initially included were the boilers at actually UHS, and we made a decision to replace those given we were having problems in the end, and so that's why I went a little bit over budget. Bid packet number 6, 2.5, we expended 2.9. And those were the roof over the auditorium at Ferndale High School, as well as here at Ferndale, the old Ferndale Lower, or what we now call Central Administration, and new doors, select doors throughout Ferndale High School. Completed bid pack 7, $78,000 was the bond budget. We actually spent $69,000, and that was for the new monument signs at Ferndale Middle School and High School. And next, bid pack 8, Ferndale Early Childhood Center and Ferndale Upper Elementary School. So this project was just completed this past summer. We installed 2 new toilet rooms within the classrooms at Ferndale Early Childhood Center, which really have become very valuable to the teachers. Both of the classrooms that we completed this past summer rave about having it so close in the classroom, where you don't have to worry about lining up all the kiddos to take them down to the group laboratory. The new monument sign, as well as parking lot resurfacing. So this project entailed install of 6 toilet rooms throughout the building, as a Jack and Jill, so to speak, between classrooms. And we did not complete all of them. We have 4 more to do next summer, and just due to timing, because we believe we couldn't get the project done and have the building reopened by fall, the other 4 lavatories are going to be done summer 2025. And all the materials are there. And then at Ferndale Upper Elementary School, we completed a little less than 2,000 square foot extension on the building for STEAM education. It is absolutely a beautiful space, and already Principal Jeffries asks to use it. We're not complete with our final fire inspection, so we're waiting for that. But the space is nearly complete with a heated flooring, workstations for robotics, as well as for art and for music. That room would be used by all of those entities in the building, but the flexible seating and the furniture is already on site and storage. And then finally, in progress is bid packet number 9. And so this is a new project that will get underway this coming summer. University High School will experience a new parking lot expansion. We're going to take a little bit of the playground that's there to expand parking to 86 spaces. A new approach off of, why can't I think of the street, that runs towards FECC. Bermuda. On Bermuda, a new approach there, new secure vestibule, replacement flooring in the cafeteria and throughout all the classrooms, new furniture, and we're going to also refresh the lavatories and the locker room. And that bond budget is $3.4 million. So right now we're in the process of finalizing our bid responses, compressing the numbers, interviewing the contractors to ensure that they understand what the scope of the work is and can carry out the project to come this summer. That's it. So that gives you a little bit of a view of the existing conditions and why we're renovating the space. So lavatories, flooring, signage, and then that secure vestibule will be built out under that canopy. Any questions?
I have one shout out about the FCC playground.
Yes.
Because it's a winner.
Yeah.
It has been consistently a winner. Like, it's the place to go with all the musical instruments that are built into the playground.
Oh yeah.
And then I have a question about the sign. At the high school and the middle school, do they turn off at a certain time?
They do.
Okay.
Yeah.
I I didn't think about it till one night I came home late and I was like, oh, that's good that they turn off. But I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't know if they actually turn off.
They do, they're programmed to turn off at 10 p.m. But there's not a city ordinance, but we're being respectful of the neighborhood because they're so close to residents, right? Yeah,
Very
yeah.
bright, very bright. Come to parent-teacher conferences, you know.
Any questions? I'm so excited for UHS because I can't wait to see the kids' faces when they come back in the fall, so, yeah. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Brings us to item 4, count day update. Director of School Community Relations and Pupil Accounting, Mr. Colbert.
Excuse my corded, old-fashioned setup here. My wireless mouse, 2 of them, they just kind of caved on me. I'm not sure exactly what's going on. But thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
It's funny when I show up with this, people say, man, what are you doing? You putting the EKG on your computer? And so, but I'm going to talk tonight a little bit about the enrollment and where we are as a district. You received in your packet the update as of 10/16, which shows where we stand. I do want to provide some updates on what we've been doing to true up the number with the absent on count day report and also with the FECC totals that we have, and I'll be able to share a little bit more with that. But I want to go over exactly what you have so far. If you click on in that file, Kim, or whoever's driving,
You want to click on the link, the hyperlink?
go down to the hyperlink to the building data. It's down. The link to building data. Should just open it.
It's a PDF.
The link should be live. No?
Right click.
No, the link's not live. Okay. Well, what I have here is I have a backup. The links were live.
Oh, wait, hold on a second. Let me try it from this. Oh, nope, nope. Sorry.
I think, the live might be, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, just, oh, I got it. Thank you. If you have it and you want to share it with me real quick, because I'd like the community to see it.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, let me share it. I'll share it with you.
Okay.
Share it with you. There you go. There's another tab down there that answers a question from the board as well.
This is it right here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So you'll see one of the points I want to show with this data is over the summer we tracked from July until mid-October after count day, the trend to see how the data shows in terms of our enrollment. And you'll see that when we look at lower and when we look at OR, some of the easing of those numbers, especially with lower from 509 to 523, and the increasing number for, sorry, I said easing, the increasing number from lower from 509 to 523 as a 1016, and also at upper, we see a little bit of an ease there. This indicates, I just want to show this because this indicates where people are sometimes shopping schools at the beginning of the year. They're enrolling in multiple districts and then they shake out, and by the time they figure out where they want to attend or if they plan to attend, we'll see those numbers shift. For FHS, same thing. You see a little bit of a settling there between the last period that we tracked to 1016. What's favorable is that at UHS we see that number going up, and that's what we want to see. We want to see that number because they build their classes pretty organically from school of choice, Wayne County, And so that's a good indication that UHS is going strong. And same with TCEC, you'll see that that number increased for the 12th grade significantly, and that represents those online students coming back to finish their school. So, another question the board had was, what percentage of our students are school of choice? At this point, approximately a third of our students are school of choice, 1,000 students, 1,004 students. We have some students here on superintendent release, which is also an element of choice, but it's limited to case-by-case scenario. The next tab shows an analysis of cohort. I believe that the question was asked, and I wanted to make sure I put this together to share a 4-year glance, looking back for 4 years to see at our transition points what happens with our enrollment. If the question, if I recall, was do we see a significant drop-off or do we see an increase? So let's start with the light blue cohort, which I call the kindergarten cohort, starting in 21 all the way through 24, 25, what we see here. Now, of course, this doesn't take into account every aspect. Those students don't go one-to-one through the year. But to answer the question of the transition between the 2nd and the 3rd grade, we see that actually, as a district, we increase our enrollment from that transition point about 9.3%. So between the period of 21, 22, all the way down, you follow that cohort through that first transition, you'll see that it increased 10%. Then, to get my arms around this, I was thinking, I said, well, let's take a look then, because in order to do this kind of all the way through, we'd have to kind of count back. So I said, let's take a look at the next cohort of students, which would be our transition 5 to 6. So we start the 3rd grade there with the purple. So if you follow that from the 3rd grade all the way through the 6th grade, you'll see that it may follow some of the logic and some of the thinking that between our elementaries and our middle school and our secondary school, we see some attrition here, but not a lot. Not a lot. We see that enrollment is picking up. So down 4 students there. And again, remember the 24-25 data is the summative data of the count as we see it now. It's not certified. So that number may drop or may change a little bit, but not significant. And then the 3rd cohort, the 8-9 transition, I'm very pleased with the numbers we see with the interest in district residents staying with Ferndale and not choicing out. From the 6th grade to the 9th grade, we'll see that the enrollment has a healthy increase pretty much all the way through, especially in that 9th grade year, in the 24-25 period from year 23-24. And this is significant because we haven't increased our school of choice slots significantly. So that is in district residents. We haven't changed any of those policies about admission. So we're seeing a healthy gain in our student enrollment.
Robert, would you mind pausing just real quick just to see if we have any questions? That was a lot of great information.
Okay.
No, I want to say huge thank you for doing this because I know it's a question that gets asked a lot. Is do we lose kids at those transition? And it's tough, when you look our current cohort that says the 4th graders, the 5th graders, 6th graders, when you go from 147 in one class to 182, it's tough to see that just year over year but to know if you look at that same, say 5th grade class going back, they fluctuated between that 180 to 190. Mm-hmm. They're solid there where the class behind them is at right in that 140 area. Yeah. So this is great to show just that the cohorts are staying strong in where they start to where they're going through. It's not an attrition. We're not losing in just that 9th grade where we didn't increase school of choice, but we're seeing an even larger class of people coming back. So thank you. This is awesome to see.
Finally, I spend time with the data so much, it's I kind of get it in my head. I want to lay it out for you to see it. So you can see that we're strong year over year. Some interesting findings. If you notice the kindergarten class, you might see that from K to 1, a drop off there. We were discussing that and come to think about first 5s in that number, so they're getting counted twice. So that's why you're really not seeing a lot of kinders leaving the district. It's just that those kinders are counted at the K level. Otherwise, that would be an indication, Tom and I were talking about that, it would be an indication of what's happening, why are we losing so many kindergartners to first grade? So that might be a deeper dive that we can take a look at, but other than that, the numbers are pretty solid and over the past 4 years. We can continue this out.
I'm wondering, going back to looking at the building summary, I appreciate your explanation of how the numbers aren't settled, but between 816 and 1016, especially if I'm looking at FECC lower, UHS, I know we said that has more of an organic process to what you said, but seeing those are sizable jumps, I'm wondering where do we see a lot of those kids coming in? Because I'm thinking from a classroom perspective for both the teachers and the students for their learning. If we're having a lot of kids come in beginning of October, what does that mean for the learning of the kids who are in that class as well as the kids who are coming into that class and the teachers who have to work with that?
So in terms of head count, so start with FECC, those GSRP students, that's their raw number, okay?
Mm-hmm.
When we shake this out, and I think your question pertains to that because it's about space and about how many students are in the head count.
And timing too, and timing. So like, is a lot of that increase happening towards the beginning of September, or is it closer to this 10-16 date? If we know that.
I have some very high-level perspective on that. So I know last year, Principal Keith was challenged with watching the numbers over the summer and trying to figure out where that sweet spot was going to be of, will there be a need for extra section in K or in 1, because they were coming in and it's always this kind of game that was played, right? Last year it was first grade, bigger class, that's K was a little bit smaller. Now we're in the conversation this year and we're looking at the K group, and I can confirm that they are still enrolling right now. So I think that this would be, I don't recall seeing so much in September and October last year. So I think it would be very telling this year with our current K. I think that we'll have a lot of narrative data around the impact that has had on classroom culture, all of the things, right? Because it's kindergarten, we can't confirm that they're playing that like game of testing out schools for a month. We don't know that. They may have not been in school at all. So you're just making me think that we may want to dig a little bit deeper, specifically of those students that are enrolling a little bit later, because I think that definitely tells, it'll be an important data piece.
And I guess with that, is there a cutoff point? Because I know we have the caps for enrollment by numbers, but by time. But yeah, I know if it's residents, you can't say anything, but I'm wondering otherwise. Okay.
And I'll say, they're coming, like it's
I know that's not unique to us too. I know that's.
And I will say that, like it's a good problem, right? We are definitely getting close to our caps, and specifically in kindergarten. So it's hard. While we would love to be like November 1st, like a specific date is difficult when they're residents.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I just appreciate us hearing about how that's going throughout the year. Just so we know how we can support the kids who are in the class and the teachers teaching them, because
So maybe enrollment trends throughout the year, just how many new enrollments?
Yeah. So that would be the ask from enrollment, and then from building leadership to teachers would be how are they managing that, the flux of students and what that does to the classroom learning culture.
And we try to push them, we try to get them enrolled quickly, because if you wait, the longer you wait, the kids out of school,
Yeah, it's tough for everyone, that kid, the class they come into, yeah, everyone, yeah.
Yeah, if it's things like, yeah, whether it's students that are, like the first 5 to 10, they can waiver in, are we getting
Right.
those kids, what is that group? Because, yeah, I look at that class, and that's gonna be like the 5th grade class right now, which every time that moved up, the teachers had to
They had to move.
move around a lot, so it's gonna
Yep.
be, if you take out first 5, you're still looking at 180 students, which is a
It's a big class.
huge class.
It's almost like every other year, every couple years, it's like this huge class. So it looks like that K class, like you mentioned, Sarah, is our next big group.
And just, yeah, I think we've been very fortunate after COVID with having not those huge classes.
Right.
And just that, and being
Yes.
fortunate of like our teacher to student ratios being there. So like, yeah, how, if we're thinking more and more residents are staying, how are we?
Yeah, we're thinking supports, we're thinking of like, facilities, because very soon, they'll be in middle school. And they're different size-wise in those classrooms.
I would be just curious to see how many of these residents are new to the area. Because I almost bump into somebody daily that says, hey, I just moved to Ferndale. Right? So how many new residents are moving into the city because of the schools, right?
Yeah.
I think there's a code we can pull new the first time in district.
Nice.
So, and then when I mentioned that number, the 3360, the final number, as we're whittling it down, I want to give you a little more precision and not tie myself to a number just yet because we're working on it. We're around 3206 right now, and the whittling down is coming from a lot of the FECC students. We get funding from them if we provide special ed services, so we're really focused on making sure we get every student from special ed in FECC. But we're confident we're going to be in and around the margin of error of the 3160 that we projected. Same as last year, but this large number, I just want to make sure everybody's not multiplying that by the state grant. We'll get down to our FTE.
Can I ask, so when you're talking about special education and specifically to FECC, you're saying that we need to get as many of the students as early on as possible into the special education, like registered into special education or whatever the services are?
I want to be clear, we are just making sure that our records are up to date with the services they're receiving. So I'm not certain about how they're getting it, but just making sure that we are calculating the total hours that are in the system. And that's what gives us that FTE. That's a separate question.
And what day is that by, that you do that?
5th week after count, so it's November, like the 9th or whatever that second week in November, the 5 weeks. And one final question from the last meeting we had was around attendance and early release days. And so I did some digging on that just to see. So we get average daily attendance. Our district is pretty high, 94, let me see. FEF average on those, just for this year, is 94.31. So to tell you how we track attendance from our offices, we set our indicator at 86%. So if it ever falls below 86%, we're going to know there's an issue coming. So our audited count for attendance is, our audited attendance is high across the district. I did see a slight dip, but nothing measurable, like 1% for FHS and UHS on those Wednesdays, the 7 Wednesdays that we have, okay, have had. So there is an indication that, and what I want to do is follow that through the year to see, and UHS as well, they dipped down some to 86s and 85. And as we're working as well with Juan, George is working with Juan to build some attendance reports so that we can see how we're going to track and measure attendance for Camille's goals and for the district's goals, what is going to be that metric that we follow. So just didn't want to leave it. So it indicates that there is some slippage on the Wednesdays.
Robert, did you say the average attendance is 94?
94 0.31 for those days, for those early release days.
At both buildings?
All buildings.
All buildings.
FHS average is 93.4, dips a little bit. UHS is 93, lower 94.7, and upper 95.6.
That's average attendance on the early release day.
Mm-hmm.
And average attendance on regular days?
I can run that.
Oh, no. I'm just amazed, I'm amazed. That is
Right, I'm
not
like,
what I'm
what?
hearing about school attendance.
No, that's.
So if that's our average attendance, kudos to your team.
So that, in that school, but in those 6 percentage points lie our critical kids.
Yes, yes.
And those
yes,
are
of
the
course.
kids, even though as a district we're performing well, our chronically absent students need to be serviced. So
Yeah.
even if there's 2%, if you've got.
Right, absolutely.
So. All right, any questions about where we stand? Thank you.
Thank you.
Brings us to item 5, AAI acknowledgement and presentation of Dr. Lynch.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening.
This evening, I have the extreme pleasure of introducing you all to Dr. Olivia Lynch from the Africa American Institute. Dr. Lynch came to Ferndale last year, I believe, and has brought her extreme amount of knowledge and experience. She's held every educational position I think you can hold at the public school level, college professor. Just a wonderful resource for us, and I thought it would be appropriate to take some time tonight to introduce her to you, so you can meet her and also see some of the wonderful work that she's started in Ferndale. We start with a little bit about the Africa American Institute. 7 decades, AAI has bridged Africa and its diaspora to catalyze a more sustainable and equitable world, taking a transcontinental and multifaceted approach. Their programs span across 4 impact pillars: liberatory education, community building, global healing and repair, and economic sovereignty. I won't read all of this, but just from the AAI website, part of Dr. Lynch's bio. So last year, the work that we partnered on started with some classroom libraries at Ferndale Upper Elementary. Dr. Lynch led a book study on Goldie Muhammad's book, Unearthing Joy, for all of our principals and instructional lead teachers. We had a wonderful experience. Dr. Lynch brought Stephanie Harvey in for a day of learning around comprehension, targeted for teachers of literacy and social studies. There's a lot of times when principals say, hey, we have this PD, who wants to go? It's the exact opposite. People were like, wait, I missed that. How do I get in on that? So it was great. There's great interest before the event, and there was wonderful feedback after the event. So that was really exciting. Dr. Lynch met with the curriculum instruction assessment team on a regular basis to just kind of share her wisdom, provide some mentoring opportunities, and just kind of map out where we're going, helping us with some guidance there. And one of the highlights for me last year was she coordinated a conversation with Joe Feldman, who is the author of Grading for Equity, which is a book that I've listened to and read multiple times, and I find some great information in it, and it's some learning and leading that we're engaging our principals with over last year and this year, with the hope and goal of creating a district-wide grading policy in the very near future, one that focuses on an equitable approach that ends with grades reflecting what students know about a content and nothing more, nothing less. Okay? So that was last year. This year, we're continuing our work. Dr. Lynch is mentoring 2 of our Ferndale Public Schools administrators. I am one of them, and I am really excited about our conversations. We've had a couple so far, and always leave just energized and excited and ready to go. So it's a great experience for me, and I appreciate that. Starting the second semester, Dr. Lynch will be leading a book study for administrators, Culturally Responsive School Leadership by Muhammad Khalifa. So I'm excited about that. We focused on culturally responsive teaching in the brain for the last few years, and that's been a great book for principals and teachers, but Dr. Khalifa's book is geared directly for school administrators. So having read that book, I think it will be a great experience for our principals that will lead to increased success for our teachers and our students. I'm excited about that. We are going to be getting additional classroom libraries for Ferndale Upper. We have an additional 5th grade class this year, so that class will be getting classroom library, and then we'll be getting some classroom libraries for the new rooms at Ferndale Lower. We're going to expand on our day of learning with Stephanie Harvey. We're going to multiply it by 5 this year. So that's again very exciting. Probably won't be with Stephanie Harvey this year, but it'll be with one of her team. So we're still looking very forward to that. AAI provided scholarships for myself and Ms. Griffin to attend the Culturally Responsive Teaching in the Brain Masterclass that was facilitated by Zara Hammond herself, which was beyond super cool. And she's also supporting us in our Ferndale Middle School Social Studies resource adoption process. So those are just some of the things that we're working on, bless you. I'm sure that as we go through the year and we have our conversations, our opportunities will expand themselves. But that's kind of what we have in the works right now. So again, I wanted to take the opportunity to introduce Dr. Lynch to all of you and give you a chance to meet her, give her a chance to say a few words, and give you a chance to ask questions if you have any. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Lynch.
Hi, thanks for having me. It's always an honor to come to Ferndale. You don't know that you have an amazing district, and I just feel it. I've only been in Michigan 2 years. And for all of the work that I do, I tell people what I am is just a school teacher, and that's how I view myself. And school teachers get to learn lots of things, and I just got a chance to learn lots of things, but I'm still a school teacher. I'm still happiest in spaces with children and educators. That's the best place to be. I'm happy to provide services through the African American Institute. I'm a consultant with them. So before I came, it was actually my high school teacher worked with them many, many moons ago. And I got a call about 4 or 5 years ago saying, would you like to come and help this organization? They want to re-up their schools, their schoolwork piece of what they do. And I said, well, who are they? And so I looked, and then I said, oh, okay. And so we were able to create a lot of the programs that you see. One of the things that I loved is the African diaspora curated classroom libraries. That was so fun. Again, that's why I'm a classroom teacher, because it meant that I had to read a lot of books, a lot of children's books, from kindergarten to 5th grade, to put this library together. But it's so wonderful to experience that, and I'm just really proud that we have recognized the diaspora both in the United States, in Africa, in the Caribbean, and in Latin America. And I am from Latin America, so that's just really wonderful, and that there's a library that speaks to all of that for the children. It's just really, really exciting. So I like this kind of work. Sarita Hammond, I knew her in San Francisco, in San Francisco, when I was the director and superintendent of a charter there. And also I know her work and her books. And so I was just so pleased that I could connect with her in any way that I could. Joe Feldman turned out to be a friend when I was a deputy superintendent in the Bay Area. Actually, I mentored him when I was working at Stanford, and then I got a call years later when I was consulting and said, "You ready to come back to a district or a school?" I said, "Yes, what?" And he was leaving a district and asked me if I would come and take his position there. And subsequent to that, he wrote a book based on some of the work that he did. And so Grading for Equity came out just amazing, because lots of times educators know things, they don't have time to put it together in ways that are useful. Anyway, I talk a lot about teaching and learning, so I'm going to stop. I just want to let you know that, again, I'm honored. Let me know if there's anything that you need. Stephanie Harvey is another colleague that I met years ago when I was a principal in New York on the east side. And the superintendent brought her in to do some work with us, and then later I was able to bring her out to California when I was there to do some work with my schools. So, you know, she's just a really top educator. I want to tell you one of her, you know, she has, as Tom said, it's not necessarily her, but she has consultants that work with her, and one of them has been working with the school in Pontiac. And it is the only school that improved on the, what do you call it? The MSTEP, the only one. And I asked the principal, but what if you have to write down everything you did and start it earlier? And one of the, in the package of things was having this consultant from Stephanie Harvey impacting the disposition and knowledge and practice of her teachers. And looking at what happened to the children, the only school, the district was like, what's going on over there? So I'm just happy for those things, because the children, at the end of the day, it's the children that matter. So anyway, you have an absolutely beautiful district, but I know you know that. And blessings to you, and thank you for having me.
Thank you. I have a one-page document that I'll share with everybody on the African American Institute.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, item 6, public comment. This is a time for public participation in the meeting. The Board of Education intends for the public to have many opportunities to address the board and administration of their school district. These include email, phone calls, face-to-face meetings, community gatherings, public hearings, and other meetings. We welcome individual and group input into the important issues that confront our schools. As noted at the top of the agenda, this is a meeting of the school board open to the public. We want to provide fair and impartial guidelines for participation as required by the Open Meetings Act, and to encourage transparency and equal treatment for everyone in attendance. We also recognize that an effective meeting facilitates better decisions and promotes openness by allowing more people to stay for the full length of the meeting. To meet these goals, please note the following. We ask that you identify yourself and list contact information on a comment sheet to help administrators follow up with you on your comment. If you do not wish to do so in writing, please identify yourself at the podium. And if you need a response, please provide contact information with an administrator after the meeting. I'll call on people who have completed a comment sheet first. Each person will have one opportunity to address the board for up to 3 minutes. Comments or questions should be directed to the board president. Vice President Fulmer will raise her hand when your time is within a few seconds of expiring. This period of public comment is for both non-agenda items and issues that are on the agenda. Public comments will end at the close of this part of the agenda. In the event that the number of people wishing to comment requires longer than 30 minutes, public comment will be temporarily postponed. After 30 minutes, and time will be added to the end of the meeting for those who did not get a chance to speak. Complaints about staff should be made outside of the board meetings and should follow the applicable board policy. Please contact the superintendent's office if you have any questions regarding this item. The board cannot respond to complaints about employees in public. This is meant to promote fairness to the staff person and the complainant. Ferndale Public Schools community acts with great civility toward one another. Please help us to maintain that condition during public comment. Anyone here for public comment? Public comment is now closed. brings us to item 7. Consent agenda. Item 7.1, request to approve minutes of the special meeting committee of the whole Tuesday, September 3rd, 2024. Item 7.2, request to approve minutes of the regular meeting Monday, September 16th, 2024. Item 7.3, request to approve new hires, resignations, terminations, and transfers. Item 7.4, request to approve bills and accounts for September 2024. Does anyone wish to remove an item from the consent agenda for questions or discussion later?
No.
Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll move.
Moved by Peter. Seconded.
I'll second.
Seconded by Jonathan. Roll call, Ms. Shepherd?
Siglerick.
Yes.
Elturk.
Yes.
Fulmer.
Yes.
Latash.
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
President Dookie.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. With 6 yes votes, the motion passes and the consent agenda is approved. Action items. Item 8, action item 8.1, request to approve the OCSBA proposed amendments to the association bylaws. We had those via email and we shared them at the committee of the whole. Does anyone have any discussion on the bylaws?
No.
I'll entertain a motion to approve item 8.1, request to approve the OCSBA proposed amendments to the association bylaws.
So moved.
Moved by Mary.
Second.
Second by Sarah. Roll call, Ms. Shepherd.
Elturk.
Yes.
Fulmer.
Yes.
Latash.
Sure.
Turner.
Yes.
Siglerick.
Yeah.
President Dookie.
Yep.
Thank you.
With 6 yes votes, the motion passes. And item 8.1, request to approve the OCSBA proposed amendments to the association bylaws is approved. Item 8.2, request to approve the appointment of Amira House Connect.
House next. Yep, I
Thank
was
you.
like, I knew this.
As an Oakland County Parent Advisory Committee representative. We talked about it as committee of the whole. Do you need, is anyone here? Yes?
Introduction.
So now that this is a regular board meeting, and we will do another formal introduction of our special education director, right? Or no? Or are we talking about?
We talking about
Well,
Her.
she's not here. Okay. Got it.
Oh, we can do that thing for the.
We could do special ed.
Yeah.
Yes, please. A lot of audibles and hand motions. Thank you so much.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
How's everyone?
Good. How are you?
You want me to just say a few words?
Just a few
again?
words.
Okay, so I am Alicia Bird. Proud to be here in Ferndale as your special education director. I've been here for a little over a month now. This is, I think, my second or third board meeting. So lots of work to do here. I've been collaborating with all of my team members on the cabinet to kind of create an action plan. I'm doing a comprehensive needs assessment of all of our programs at each building to just see what's working, where there are gaps. And I have a dynamic team, so I'm happy to be here.
And Alicia is dynamic as well. Proud to have her on our team.
Thank you.
Could you just say a word or two about this position on the PAC?
Yes, I can. So the Parent Advisory Committee is really a committee through Oakland Schools. Each district has 1 or 2 parent representatives, depending on the number of students with IEPs. So there was one vacancy created. So we have a parent who has 3 students in the district, 2 students with IEPs, 1 with a 504. She herself is a mental health social worker for moms of newborns. And one of her visions or her passion is behind helping parents to navigate the special education process, especially when they have young kids and they're just starting out and there are a lot of questions and they're not familiar with the process.
and procedures and all the acronyms and all the things that go along with special education.
It's great. And so far, there's been 2 PAC meetings so far, right?
There have been 2 PAC meetings. One was in September. That was their orientation. The meeting in October was actually for PAC reps and directors. So I went to that meeting. It was a dinner meeting at Oakland Schools, and I attended with one of our members, Sarah Martin. Yeah, our PAC rep. Oh, yes, and tomorrow is our parent advisory committee for Ferndale at 5:30 in the Nest at FHS. We meet on the 4th Tuesday of the month from 5:30 to 7:30. 5:30 we serve dinner, 6 to 7 is the meeting, 7 to 7:30 is kind of our parent connection portion where parents can kind of network and communicate with each other.
I'll entertain a motion to approve item 8.2, request to approve the appointment of Amira Hausneck as an Oakland County Parent Advisory Committee PAC representative.
I'll move.
Moved by Jen,
I'll second.
seconded by Jonathan. Any other discussion on the motion? Roll call, Ms. Shepherd?
Boomer,
Yes.
Latasha.
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Seglerik,
Yes.
Eltert,
Yes.
President Dookie.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. With 6 yes votes, the motion passes. And item 8.2, the request to approve the appointment of Amira Hausneck as an Oakland County Parent Advisory Committee representative is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 9, superintendent's update.
Good evening. I have just a few items this evening for an update. First, I would like to, one of the things that we would like to do to build camaraderie and community and honestly just celebrate publicly is each month we will be inviting any awardee of the Eagle Excellence Award to be acknowledged publicly at our board meetings. We are trying to get people to be nominating, so if you are watching, we ask that you please use our link and nominate staff members that exemplify excellence in our district. So with that being said, our Eagle Excellence Award this week is Miss Valencia Cade. And I asked her to come to the podium because I'm going to read what her award acknowledgement states. And it says, Valencia Cade is a dynamic administrator within the special education department. She works closely with the special education staff and also guides and supports our parents through her work with the Parental Advisory Committee, PAC. Her diligence and work regarding our IEP compliance efforts is critical to ensure student success. Ms. Cade has been instrumental in maintaining a list of priorities in order to support the recent transition in department leadership. She works hard to cultivate and build relationships with team members and has been instrumental in recruiting and hiring highly qualified team members. Without a doubt, her tenacity and attention to detail are assets to the district. Most importantly, she is known for her passion to facilitate the best outcomes for the students we serve. She is a team player, and we surely want her to know how much she is appreciated. Ms. Cade is a stellar example of Eagle excellence. Thank you, Valencia, for all you do. So give Valencia a round of applause. And we have an Eagle Excellence Clint pin that I would like to present to Valencia. And we're so proud to have you. Thank you.
I just want to, you know, it's, yes, first.
Oh, okay.
I was telling Camille Friday when I saw it, like, I cried, you know what I mean? Because I don't really take that for granted, you know what I mean? It may seem like a small gesture, but it moved mountains for me to feel like that I'm seen and heard and valued for the hard work that I do here at Ferndale. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Next, I just wanted to give an update publicly. I did mention this in our weekly board update, but on Thursday, I had the opportunity to facilitate what I'm calling a pillar committee goal setting session. So you've heard a lot about the 5 pillars of excellence. You've seen me talking about them in the e-blast, and it was time for us to set a goal around each of our 5 pillars so that we can monitor our progress toward achieving that excellence that we speak of. So the morning was spent with all of the leaders in our district. Then we went to the afternoon where we had staff representation from each of our buildings to do a very similar goal setting experience. From both of those experiences, we have draft goals that will now come to the public community for their feedback. So because we all have a role in our goals. We all have a role in ensuring that Ferndale is excellent, so it makes sense for us to ensure that we have feedback from all of our stakeholders. So we're looking forward to setting achievable yet audacious goals, I will say. And it was just a wonderful time. Lots of the feedback that we received was that it just was exciting and just powerful to be in the room. I watched people who had never, leaders in the district who very rarely worked together, who are now working together to set a goal for our district. So it was very powerful, and I'm proud of the work that we're doing. So stay tuned, but we did want to make sure that you knew that we'd had some great work that we're doing around our 5 pillars of excellence. Next, I wanted to talk briefly about our dynamic plan and to acknowledge that from here on out, I will be including a dynamic plan update during the superintendent's update because it is in motion and we are excited. So we had our kickoff meeting where myself, Deputy Superintendent Wright, as well as President Dookie met with our dynamic plan facilitator, Dr. Kelly Peterson. And this was very much so your typical kickoff meeting where we wanted to make sure we had dates, we understood the roles, we understood what was coming next in our timeline for the development of our dynamic plan. And there were 2 pieces of homework that I would like to engage the board on very briefly around a few items. The first one, if you recall, there will be a period where we will do a board retreat. And that retreat is where we will review a lot of the stakeholder data that was collected, as well as do our dreaming about what we would like our 3-year, 6-year out Ferndale to look like. The 3 of us that were on the call thought that January made a lot of sense when we will have board transition, we have new board members on the board. But I wanted to just get an idea if there was any specific weekends in January possibly for our, right now, 3.
So I shared the 2 dates, the 11th and the 25th. I think the feedback that I got from Peter was either works, Jonathan, either works.
Okay.
And Jackie also said either works, but her question, her follow-up was about
how many hours?
Yep, as an orientation.
Okay. I was trying to hand off my homework, but I now have some homework. The next piece of feedback I wanted to just get input from the board was there will be the need to develop a stakeholder development team of 7 to 11, she's suggesting 7 to 11 members. Those members could be any role in our community. Of course, there were a few that we had discussed as possible options, but I just wanted to see if there were some potential roles or community roles that you felt very strongly about needing to have a seat on the strategy development team.
My question would be, which were those roles you identified?
Yes, so great question. 1 representative, 1 staff member from each building, so that would be 7. And then a potential elementary and secondary student representative, that would bring us to 9. Then the last 2 would be a secondary parent, as well as parent caregiver, as well as an elementary parent caregiver. So that would get us to 11 right there. I would love to have a non-parent community member, but that would bring us to 12. I think that we could squeeze that one in. But just wanted to see if there were any other formulations that might make sense.
Makes sense to me, especially again, for more the sake of the record, that we know this is not the only input process,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
This is gonna be a small working group,
Yes.
right? To take in information that we're getting via many methods of feedback, processing it. And I'm continuing the process on the non, directly district-related community member, if anyone else has.
Mine would be like when we say one staff from each building, because mine goes to like, obviously like our staff is a huge range of different people, and so like it's just a stat of like making sure we're hitting upon
Yes,
different people that,
roles
yeah.
within those. So I can see a principal at one building, a paraprofessional at another building, a teacher at another building, you know, someone from the special education department, at, you know, like just making sure they're varied roles and very intentional in the total representation.
I wonder if administration might already have, just in like the meetings you have with them and everything, a more direct line to you, and if it may
maybe not administrators.
Yeah, and if it's maybe making sure we have
Okay.
other educational staff
Yeah,
represented, and then if there's even I don't know if it's a selecting or a buildings
Okay.
nominating. So
good idea.
folks have someone they feel is representative. And then they know, they have ownership of who they can go to with questions and concerns and feedback.
In the board, there is representation of alumni,
Correct.
or that would have been one that I would have highlighted.
Okay.
But in a district where we have such tremendous support from the community, I really would advocate for a someone from the community that in this moment does not have direct ties to FPS.
Yeah, same. Okay.
Another idea I was potentially thinking that we could do is maybe adding one of our community partners that's with one of our programs, like youth assistance or
communities in schools.
Yeah.
Yeah, about 15. But and then I was also thinking too that we have a number of staff that are also parents, a number of staff that are also alumni. So we may be, depending on that part, that we may check a few boxes in one.
Yeah, that's what I think, for me, the numbers you presented, I think those are the critical ones to cover, and that's looking for overlap with the other things would be my feedback.
Okay. Thank you for that feedback. And last thing, under superintendent update is we have a very, very exciting new program that I wanted to make sure that you knew about. I am going to hand it over to Deputy Superintendent Wright to talk a little bit more about our new drone program.
Sure. So this program is brought to us by Ferndale Youth Assistance in partnership with the Neighborhood Legal Services of Michigan. We're targeting potentially 20 students from each school building, that being Ferndale High School and University High School, to provide STEM education and STEM labs. Through this program, students can become certified in drones, also coding. There's opportunities for not only mentorship, but also employment. The program, the grant is $125,000. It's for this school year, right? So we're attempting to get the program underway. The program will be housed physically on the first floor of Ferndale High School. You can kind of envision where IT used to be on the first floor by the cafeteria, right? It'll be housed there. Within the grant funding, there's opportunity for renovating that space. so it's appropriately designed for drone education, primarily cosmetic, right? Building out labeling and some really cool graphics and lighting and storage. And so we've been working with Neighborhood Legal Services. Daryl Bingham is in charge of the program. And this program was actually brought to our attention also by Mr. Juan Rickman. And the principals, our high school principals, had the opportunity of meeting the program designer at our back to school fair. If you remember that there was representation there. And so they got a chance to link and say, yep, our kids would enjoy an opportunity to be a part of it. And so we're looking forward to launching that partnership. Awesome. Ms. Tasha?
Can I take the class?
I have a drone. I would like to become certified too.
It's like, yeah, I can earn money, yeah, let's do it.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, just one more thing. It's just a lot of great things happening in Ferndale schools. Last thing is I wanted to make sure that the board and the community was aware that Ferndale High School will be sponsoring a South Africa trip in 2026. We are definitely looking for sponsorship as well as interest from any parents. If you are a middle schooler, specifically 8th grade, we will be targeting that group because by the time 26 comes around, they'll be in high school. We recognize that there's a number of other trips where students are attending already. But South Africa, this is the first time that there have been a visit to South Africa, to my knowledge, with Ferndale schools. So we're very excited and wanted to make sure that we're getting the word out very loudly. So if you are interested, I would ask that you reach out to Kylie Rulo, Miss Rulo, who's an English teacher at Ferndale High School, or myself, and I would be happy to connect you as well. But we're very excited about this trip. And that is official.
If I could just say one thing about the trips, is they are one of the best experiences for kids to broaden their horizons and bring new cultures and people and experiences. My kid went on 2 of them, and he came back a much more mature, worldly, adventuresome person, and he still talks highly of them. And Mrs. Rulo was one of the leaders on that one. So it was a great trip. It was super well planned. They had tour guides at every step of the location. They never slept. They saw everything they could see, and they had the best time. So I highly recommend these trips.
That brings us to item 10, informational items. 10.1, budget to actual report.
Good evening.
Good evening.
This is the budget to actual report for September 2024. Do you have any questions?
Anything to worry about?
No, the original budget, it does not have any of the contract, the contracts were all settled, so it was done before all of that. So, and it always changes with budget amendment. So things will look different when we do budget amendment 1. But right now, things are rolling on.
Awesome.
And amendment 1 is December?
December or January.
Okay.
Thanks, Dawn.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 11, consideration of any pulled consent agenda items. We had none. Item 12, our next committee of the whole meeting is Monday, November 4th, 2024 at 6 p.m. Item 13, next regular board meeting is Monday, November 18th, 2024 at 7 p.m. Brings us to item 14, Eagles points of pride/comments.
I'm gonna get in first if I don't get up. I wanted to say, I'm gonna do 2 of them. I was happy to see the turnout that we had that the Ferndale Elementary PTA Advisory Committee put on for the incoming school board members. The number of people and committee members that showed up was awesome to see. I hope it's something that they continue to do and continue to get more involved with. So that was really cool. And then another one that the Ferndale Elementary PTA was Field Day a couple weeks ago, and it was an amazing day, like perfect weather, and just seeing it gets just one of those fun times. It's the first time that like the lower elementary kids were able to actually walk from their building to upper elementary for field day, which was awesome. And then just when all the elementary kids get together and you've got kind of that mentorship between the younger and the older kids, and seeing all that is always just kind of a good time, along with all of the parents and caregivers that come out to volunteer for it. So it was incredibly fun. If you missed it, come out next year. I call tug of war every year, so pick something else. But yeah, it was a good time.
I wanted to shout out UHS. The presentation was really amazing. Their student council was incredible to listen to. And it is so cool to see them living out what we know is a very intentional instructional practice in UHS, that culture of innovation, growth mindset, and really making it, Ms. Patterson talked a lot about shared leadership with the teachers, but that goes down to the students too. There's a lot of shared leadership with the students, and I am currently teaching alongside a UHS alum, and just listening to the presentation, I'm like, yeah, that it's been that way forever, and it's growing and such. To see them when they're out in the world working, carry that with them. And just kind of meta everything else in the meeting, I felt like also went along that. So point of pride for the whole district that we are all living into that growth mindset of always thinking about how we can do more and share more of our leadership and responsibility.
I'll just piggyback off that one because but I actually wanted to acknowledge the Principals Month. We have some amazing principals and building leaders in this district, some that I've had the pleasure of my kids knowing, and they're phenomenal folks. And I did want to highlight Julie Patterson today. The presentation was great, and also seeing the amazing things that the school is doing and being on the forefront and really thinking outside the box. The senior mentors, making sure no kids left behind. That they all can focus on the future, with the future that's right for them. I think that's fantastic. I'd love to see that spread throughout the district. I think that's a great one. The social media presence, they pop up on my social media all the time, and I love seeing the kids and what they're doing, and having the representatives today from all the different programs, and how might we, thinking about moving forward. Impressive group of kids, impressive teachers, and it stems also up to the leadership of Julie, I think. So kudos to her and the whole team over there, really. And then the morning conferences, making sure that all the parents and guardians can get in there. And then letting the kids figure out the problem to solve. All great stuff.
I actually want to pull mine back a little bit, because I think this is our first official board meeting after homecoming. But I just want to give a really big shout out to the team that put homecoming together. Truly, I wish I was in school when it happened, because it was one of the best homecomings that I think I've been to. The engagement there was just phenomenal. It was a really good turnout, especially in the tailgating. And I think the biggest change I saw this year and the past years with us doing tailgating is not only was it a huge turnout, but people stayed all the way until the beginning of the game, which was just a really great thing to see. And seeing the students line dancing and having fun, and the cheer team out there, kids enjoying the activities that we have planned for them as well. It was just a really refreshing and just nice sight to see for the district. So kudos to the team that put that together.
I have a lot of shout outs. I'm going to try to be brief. Parent-teacher conferences have been mentioned, but I just want to shout out all the teachers and building administrators who are involved. Those are long days, but super important. I know they've happened at middle school and the 2 high schools, and I think elementary is coming in early November. So again, just shout out to the folks involved. Just a reminder that there is no school on election day because our buildings are in use, and want to encourage people to get out and vote. I think it's PD day for the staff, so I want to acknowledge that. No school does not mean that the staff are off. They're doing all of this important learning and professional development that we hear about. Sarah mentioned the walkathon field day. One of the things that jumped out at me was that the kids raised $8,500. Like, that is a significant amount of money and support, and will go a long way to do some assemblies and some fun stuff. But I think it also just speaks to the support that the school gets from this community. As a music parent, I want to mention that the Hijinks concert with orchestra and choir is this Thursday evening. Little kids are encouraged to come in costume. There's trick-or-treating that happens. We're also doing cider and donuts. It's usually a very fun concert, and they play like more pop, like funner. I mean, I shouldn't say funner music. I love classical music.
I love you, Mary.
A little more, anyway, bring your littles. Bring your littles, and then they're gonna wanna be in the orchestra. We have this amazing opportunity. Corewell Health, one of our school moms, is doing a student heart check on November 2nd. This is an incredible opportunity. A program like this literally saved my nephew's life. He discovered a heart condition he did not know he had. So if you don't know about that, please sign your student up for it. And then the last thing is the marching band. They had an incredible run on Saturday in Novi. They're going to regionals this coming Saturday and finals on November 2nd. So lots of great stuff. Don't miss any of it.
Okay, I also have a number of shout outs. So first, I would like to shout out the Avid 6 classroom at Ferndale Middle School. Their dynamic teacher, Miss Zold, reached out to me and stated that the students had a proposal that they would like to share with me for approval. And I said, I'll be there. And I was so deeply impressed with the presentation that the students came up with completely by themselves. All students participated. Everyone had a slide. They all spoke very, very well. And their proposal was to clean up the pond in the courtyard at Ferndale High School, Ferndale Middle School, completely by themselves. They had a budget, they had a materials list, they knew how they were going to fundraise, they had a timeline. It was thorough, and needless to say, it was very quickly approved. So be on the lookout for some fundraising requests from Avid 6, because they have some great plans to clean up the pond. So I want to shout them out, as well as Ms. Zold and all of Ferndale Middle School. Next, I would like to shout out Tom Mays and the Teaching and Learning Department, specifically Tawanya Robinson, who has been facilitating the kindergarten through 5th grade literacy curriculum. Now adoption, now we're in implementation. I had a chance last Wednesday to do learning walks with them at Ferndale Upper Elementary, and it was just so wonderful to see so much of the planning that we've been doing for years, literally years, see it in action in the classroom, seeing the teachers not struggle, because they're all very talented teachers, but it is a new curriculum. So with newness becomes like sometimes some uncomfortability, but every classroom we went to, it was being implemented with fidelity and with excitement. So it was just great to see such engaged classrooms. So shout out to Ferndale Upper Elementary, as well as the Teaching and Learning Department in totality. Last, this is somewhat difficult for me to say because I actually graduated from Southfield High School, but I look at it like Southfield A&T is not Southfield High School. So I am very proud of the football game on Friday. The Eagles were victorious, and it was a good game. It was a really good game. So shout out to the football team. It's looking like they'll be heading to playoffs this year. So very excited for them. And then my last one, I've been very wordy this meeting, but just a lot of great things. I also received an email from a student at Ferndale High School who shared with me that they will be beginning the first ever Black Student Union. and they invited me to their first event this Thursday of a game night. So I am very excited to see what comes of that organization at Ferndale High School, and just want to shout out all of the student-led initiatives. We heard a lot from UHS today, and we see that it is also happening at Ferndale High School. So I am a proud superintendent. Sorry. Sorry.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Actually, I was gonna, yeah, I do. One, I want to shout out Superintendent Hibbler. So she talked about the 5 pillars in school administrators meeting. It was really, really engaging. And the comments that were given regarding the session was heard, exciting about the work. No one questioned why these 5 pillars, right? It was all about us digging into the data a little bit more and be supportive. And it was just really enjoyable to be a part of. The second shout out I want to give is to our work around our emergency operations planning, because it has really been engaging by not only our school administrators, but also we've been supported by our local law enforcement. So Ferndale, Oak Park, the fire department, they've all been here week in, week out to help us complete our template around emergency operations. And right now we're in the process of finalizing our internal work around it, but they've been great thought partners with us on reunification sites. They're willing to meet with me and go out to some sites and see what's realistic for each of the schools. Just really, really supportive, and I want to thank them publicly for their support and for their commitment to meet with us. That's it.
So I have a couple. One, Mr. George and Jade Blackwell in the Olympic role. 2, marching band. So I work in Wayne County, and I got a little flack this week. And after we won, they made sure to like send me photos and like congratulations, I guess. So shout out to the band. Keep up the good work. That's some flack I don't mind taking. 3, to my fellow board members, there's a week in October that's like school board member week. So I know some of you are dropping off the table, but this is a good group to work with, and I appreciate all of you immensely. Just wanted to publicly state that. Principals Month. I know there's not enough words to say thank you and keep up the good work, but thank you. One other thing, I'm not going to remember it now. It'll come back to me. Oh, trunk or treat at FECC. So I although I'm a parent of multiple students or alumni, and a grandparent, I don't like little people. They're germ carriers. But when you are in grandparent mode, you never say no. So I got to participate in trunk or treats, actually decorate a car with an infant in tow, and handed out all kinds of stuff, bubbles, spiders, and it was great to see the little kids out and about, and just like community and family engagement, which is how I got sick, by the way. I got sick the day after. That is an event that I think is really cool for the little people. So, we had a bus there, and I don't know this program, but Heidi was Magic School Bus, was that?
Miss Fizzle from Magic School Bus.
And there was an actual bus there, and the kids got to get on the bus. And,
Awesome.
It was a big
It was a line. It was
I
a
can
hit.
imagine, I would have been
Huge fan.
Yeah.
Huge fan of Magic School Bus.
The kids were excited because they wanted to know where Mrs.
I would have been there.
Yeah, and Miss Keefe was also there, of course, as a flower. No surprise there.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, so with that, we are adjourned at 8:44.